Hi, greetings from my office. You can see I started packing up. My bookshelf is pretty bare here. But I want to sit here and talk to you about starting a career after 50. And this is something I really want to share if you've been a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, or just interested in a career shift. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to tell you who I was in college and what I want to do with my life, career-wise, to the different careers I've had along the way, including being a mom, and where I'm at today. And when I get to where I'm at today, I'm going to brag because this is what I started after age 50 or at age 50. So I've been doing this for the last 5 years, and I continue to improve, grow, change, shift, and my success ladder continues to go up. And it's better than I could have ever thought. So I'm going to share this with you because I want you to know that if you're in your 50s, if you're a stay-at-home dad, stay-at-home mom, and you find yourself in a place where you're starting over, you could do it. Or even if everything's fine, but you think you might want to do a career shift and you're around 50, or whether or not you're 40, 50, 60, retired, you can do it. You can do it. Life has a lot waiting for you. Okay, check it out. So my first college was a Quaker college, and my major was telecommunications. Was that what it was called? Or TV reporting, TV journalism? I don't remember what the major was called, but it was being in front of the camera. Like, I want to be the next Connie Chung. And that was one of my dreams. The others, I thought I was a good writer because in grade school, middle school, high school, I would write and submit things and I would get awards, and like, I don't know, in grade school, a lot of times the VFW would have a contest and I'd win and my mom, dad, and I would end up with a free VFW spaghetti dinner with the VFW people. So I always thought I was a good writer. And then my freshman year in college, I took a creative writing class, my first writing class in college, and my first assignment, red marks everywhere. The professor destroyed me. And honestly, from there, I second-guessed myself. And my dad even, who I was very close to, and I'm sure he would feel horrible if he knew the effect of his words on me. And I'm only sharing this with you because I know as a parent, I don't realize sometimes the things I say could really have these long-term effects on my kids so much that they're now on YouTube talking about it. But my dad said to me when I got a C or a C- on this paper, which was a low grade for me for writing, was that he was worried that my high school grades were inflated. In other words, that the school inflated our grades. And that really hurt. And it stuck with me. And so I never took another writing class again in college. And as far as my dream to be on TV and be a reporter, I didn't have the guts. I didn't have the self-confidence to do it. And it seemed so far away, something that was a totally different world that I probably, did I stay in the major a whole year? I think I switched majors even before the end of the first semester in college. And I went into psychology. So guess what? A lot of adopted kids go into psychology. And I liked psychology at my Quaker college. But when I transferred my junior year to the University of Washington, it was a lot more science-based. The Quaker college was more people-based. This major, or at least the classes I needed to take at the University of Washington, was very science-based, like studying animals, statistics, all this sciencey, less people behavior stuff. So I got disinterested and I decided, okay, I know I wanted to do something after my bachelor's, and I couldn't imagine staying in psychology through my PhD at that point. I didn't know anyone in business. I didn't grow up around people in business at all. So business didn't seem fun to me. Again, science, I didn't think of medical. I'll be a lawyer. So I picked law, honestly, a little bit by default. I became a lawyer. I passed the bar the first time. And up until that point, I always enjoyed public speaking. Like, I was the person who, you give me something to say, I could get up and talk in front of anybody. I would take college classes that way. High school was really easy for me. But then I became a litigator. And I was a deputy prosecutor. And there was this one case where these 5 very established, older male attorneys came into the courtroom, sat in the front row, and it was to watch me. I know it was to watch me. They were on the other side of the aisle. They were defense attorneys. And I got so nervous. I started to shake. My voice started to crack. The only person in the courtroom that looked comfortable was the defendant on the stand who I was questioning. That's how bad it was. And from that moment where I had that terrible physical response of nervousness, I couldn't public speak. I mean, I did a little bit for a while because it was my job, but I couldn't do it anymore without shaking, without my voice cracking, without extreme anxiety. So I eventually, after a few years, left the practice of law. And then I stayed home with 2 kids, which honestly is a lot harder than practicing law. It really is. I'm not a natural little kid person. I really am good with kids when they're like 30. I don't know. I'm better with them now than I was when I was younger. So I became a stay-at-home mom. And during this time, I started training for fitness. I became a personal trainer and a functional nutrition coach. And I started my own studio and did that for a while my kids were in school. And that was fun. That felt like a good fit. But during that time also, I found out that I needed 2 hip replacements. And what I taught fitness in was mixed martial arts fitness. So there were a lot of kicks and I couldn't do them anymore. So that little career ended. So obviously I've gotten over my fear of public speaking, thankfully. And how did I do it? Because it was extreme. My fear was so extreme that I would get nervous even saying my name at a PTA meeting for my kids. And this is the way I did it. And it's champagne's fault, or I should thank champagne. One day I was drinking champagne by myself on the couch, watching comedians in cars getting coffee. It was Jerry Seinfeld's show where he'd bring comedians in. They would, exchange like banter, and sometimes they would flash to the comedians on stage doing their bits. So this happened to be a show that Kevin Hart was on, and Champagne told me, "That looks easy. You can do it." Woke up the next morning, and I shouldn't even admit this, but I had forgotten that I signed up for a comedy class until I scrolled through my phone and I was enrolled. 3-day class. First day, what stand-up comedy is about. Second day, you try your bit in front of the whole class. And third day, you're on stage. And this time it was the 250 seat filled market theater in the iconic Pike Place Market. I decided I needed to do this. So I went through with it, and I had the best speaking experience.
And I get it, people from the outside, it looks like old married couples are always fighting. They're not. They're using minimal communication. I'm hungry. Eat something. I'm cold. Put on a jacket. Do you want to have sex tonight? Oh my God, did I forget? Is today your birthday? But honestly, my husband and I are doing really good. We're almost empty nesters. And I don't think I'd want a divorce at this point. Even if we got to the point where we were just sick of each other, where we could not stand to hear each other's footsteps in the house. I know I wouldn't want to get a divorce at this time, because if I could not stand to hear his footsteps in the house, if I got to that point, the last thing I would ever want to do is give him the chance of ever finding happiness again. Thank you.
Such a good experience. For me, it cured my fear of public speaking. And now I pitch and ask, can I be your keynote speaker? Can I be your MC? It's my bread and butter. And there's something else. So I'm going faster than I wanted to, because I want to tell you what I did at age 50 that got me from there to here. Or I guess the camera's this way, so I should go from there to hear. All right, just one moment. I gotta grab a few things. Okay, I'm back. So I want to grab my books. And when I say my books, these are books that I've written. So this first book that I wrote is called The 50-50 Friendship Flow. This happened when I turned 50. And it's because between my 49th and 50th birthday, I decided to sit down with women in my life, 50 women, to let them know what I've learned from them. And these were women, some of them longtime friends, others more recent acquaintances. And this sort of organically became a book. Then after that book, the pandemic happened. We were all stuck at home. And in fact, we had just started a remodel in our house. So it really felt like the pandemic because we had like plastic everywhere. Well, I decided I had such a good experience with this first book, sitting down across from these women and talking and letting them know what I learned from them, that since I'm stuck at home and now everyone's on Skype and Zoom, I could do this again with women who weren't in my area. So that's where the second book, Make Your Mess Your Message, which were all Zoom meetings, happened. And in this one, I asked women, what is the mess that became their message? Now, the third book, it doesn't stop. And the reason I did a third book is because my publisher said, you have a series after my second book. And I thought, well, that's stupid. No one has a series with 2 books. So I decided to write a third one. And this one is a hybrid, some Zoom meetings, some in person, but I asked various life questions. And this is called Ask Yourself This. And these are all part of a series called the Friendship Series. And they're books that you can journal through. They have pictures of the women I spoke to. There's beautiful Denise. Pictures of the women I spoke to and their answers, and a place for you to journal. All these books are books to journal from. And the reason is because I've grown so much through journaling, and it's been a daily practice of mine since I was 46 years old, so for a little while. And now, this year, my fourth book is Table for 51. This one has so much heart in it because by this point in time, I've learned how to write. And this was my big project of going around the U.S. and meeting women, one woman in each state, and sharing a meal with her. And this was a real life-changing book because not only did I end up realizing that home didn't feel like home, in part because of my marriage falling apart, but I really got to know myself during this travel, and I gained so much confidence talking to all these women who range from the ages of 20s to 60s and listening to their life stories. So this was a life changer. This is where the brag's going to come in. So I started doing media from the first book, thanks to my great publicist, Courtney Jason. Absolutely amazing. She and I are such good friends now. And my media presence kept growing and growing and growing. And so by the time I had this book, as I was traveling around the US, I think I was on about 30 different TV shows, all major networks. The Today Show had me on. This book and me, when it was released, People Magazine did a feature. So did Us Weekly, National Enquirer. For the book launch in New York City, Getty Images took all the pictures and the video from our book launch. And so how incredible is that? I went from a stay-at-home mom who did a little book to 4 books later, being on all the major TV networks, being on the Today Show, being in People Magazine, Us Weekly, Time. I get interviewed for Pop Sugar fairly frequently. I've written for HuffPost. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I've been in Yahoo News, Women's World. And I'm telling you this because I don't have training in writing. I told you what happened to me in college. I don't have training in writing. I told you that I wanted to be the next Connie Chung when I was 18, but I didn't have the confidence to do that. And now I'm on TV relatively regularly for a normal person. So I'm living like the combination of my 18-year-old's dream, and I'm doing this at 55, and I started this at 50. And now I'm diving headfirst into the professional speaking world, where I told you my story. I couldn't even say my name at a PTA meeting without shaking. I quit my job as a lawyer. I quit my career as a lawyer, something I'd worked for, because I couldn't public speak anymore. And now it's my bread and butter. I mean, it gives me chills. It really, because I couldn't have planned this path. And you could tell I'm getting excited. And the next thing, too, when I moved to Dallas, is I am going to have a conference. It's in 2026, because my keynote now from this is called Flip the Box Live, the Connection Conference. And Flip the Box, if you don't know, I did a TEDx too. I forgot about that. I did a TEDx just this past February. Man, there's been so much this year. And the Flip the Box came from that, if you haven't heard the story, as an orphan, I was found in a cardboard box with no identifying information. All my life, I felt like I didn't belong. And so on this journey across the US, where I sat down with strangers and shared a meal, I realized I had symbolically taken that table or that box I was found in and flipped it and made it a table for conversation and connection and belonging. So the movement is called Flip the Box. There's a nationally archived, recognized day. Can you believe it? March 5th, a day where you're encouraged to flip the box specifically for that day, to share a meal with someone that you haven't met, sat down with before, or someone you lost contact with. But now it's grown. Flip the Box has grown, and it's part of my keynote. And it's Flip the Box for yourself, your career, and your community. And this conference, it's going to be a 2-day conference in October 2026. And there's going to be 2 days and a third day optional VIP day, which will be a limited number of people, where we're going to do some masterminding, and we're just going to really create connection and come up with a blueprint, a 90-day plan. And there's going to be more. It's still developing. I'm going to work with sponsors to really get this thing going. And I'm so excited, because this conference, so many conferences, I think they focus either on self-growth or business growth or a specific industry. This brings it all together, because when you feel more connected with yourself and you know your own story, it flows into your career and your work life. You feel more connected in your work life. So that's why we always start with self. And when you feel more connected at work, then, if you're somebody who has people under them, teams, you're able to energize them more. They feel more impacted, their employee retention increases, profit increases, and then it flows to the community. And you become a very powerful, purposeful leader in your community. Once you flip the box for yourself, then your career, then your community. I'm so excited about my life right now. Talking to you, I don't have a script. I'm getting chills, because I couldn't have planned it any better. Even with all the curveballs, because I'm living my purpose now, and the doors keep opening. And I've said this before, it feels like every time I close a door, something I've prayed for shows up. It's almost like these doors had to close for everything I've ever prayed for, to make room for them. And I just feel very, very thankful. So please follow along on this journey, because I've never created a conference before. I've never worked with sponsors before. I've had parties, so I know I could do this. But this is a big one in a new city. So let's see if I could do this. I have my first speaking gig actually in Texas, in Houston, which is coming up in October of this year, 2025. So that's exciting. Anyway, please follow, subscribe, and leave in your comments. Tell me about your career dreams, or something really cool that's happened to you in your career changes. I'd love to hear from you. All right. Take care. Thanks.